Okay, so we have to talk about China is about to pop the AI bubble because I think we're being lied to. We're fed this narrative of unstoppable AI growth, this endless technological boom. But if you look closely, if you follow the money, there's a ticking time bomb embedded right in the heart of it, and it's coming from Beijing. Between 2018 and 2023, China poured over $120 billion into its domestic AI sector, right? That's a staggering amount. But here's the kicker. Its top AI firms, companies like SenseTime and MegV, have seen their valuations crater by an average of 60% in just the last 2 years. 60%. Now, if you see that once, it could be a coincidence, but it's happened 3 times with their biggest players. Welcome to the Alpha Brief. I'm Reid, and if you're new here, we follow the money so you don't have to. Today, we're going to expose how China's desperate pivot to AI dominance, fueled by a collapsing property market and a demographic crisis, is about to send shockwaves through your portfolio and redefine the global tech landscape. Now, this isn't some abstract geopolitical struggle that happens on the news. This lands directly in your wallet. If you own a home, watch your mortgage rates, because global capital flight from China could push bond yields higher, making refinancing a nightmare, or even just keeping your current payments affordable. If you're carrying any debt, your credit card interest is about to climb, making even minimum payments feel like a losing battle against compounding charges. If your 401k or IRA is heavily invested in tech, prepare for a serious correction as the AI growth story gets a reality check, potentially wiping out years of gains you thought were rock solid. And if your paycheck hasn't moved much lately, get ready for even tighter budgets, because the ripple effects will hit your grocery bill and gas prices, aka more inflation in everything you buy every single day. So, let's peel back the layers here. For years, China has been operating under its Made in China 2025 strategic plan, a blueprint for global dominance in high-tech industries, with artificial intelligence being the crown jewel. The goal is self-sufficiency, to not just compete but to surpass the West in everything from robotics to biotech, and yes, especially AI. They want to control the entire supply chain, from the foundational research to the end-user applications. This isn't just about economic growth for them, it's about national security and geopolitical power. They see AI as the ultimate strategic high ground. There's a problem, a huge one. The US has been pushing back hard. Think about the Chips and Science Act of 2022, a $280 billion effort to bolster domestic semiconductor manufacturing. But more critically, the Commerce Department under Secretary Gina Raimondo has implemented increasingly stringent export controls. These aren't just minor tweaks. We're talking about outright denial of access to advanced AI chips, the very ones made by companies like NVIDIA and AMD, and the specialized lithography equipment from Dutch giant ASML that's essential for manufacturing them.
Gina Raimondo said, and I quote, "Our objective is to deny China access to our most advanced technology, from military modernization."
This isn't a secret. It's a stated policy, and it's working. Chinese firms are struggling to get their hands on the high-end GPUs needed to train the massive AI models that power generative AI. They're forced to use older, less efficient chips or try to build their own, which is incredibly difficult and expensive. President Xi Jinping himself has reiterated the urgency.
Xi Jinping said, and I quote, "Innovation is the primary force driving development. We must strengthen our national strategic, scientific, and technological strength."
This isn't just rhetoric. This is a directive, and it's coming at a time when China's economy is facing unprecedented internal pressures. Now hold on, because here's where the hidden mechanism comes into play. Why is China so desperate for AI dominance right now, even as the West tightens the screws? It's not just about future power. It's about a desperate attempt to paper over a monumental economic crisis that's unfolding right before our eyes. The property market, which for decades was the engine of Chinese growth, is collapsing. We're talking about giants like Evergrande and Country Garden, once titans, now teetering on the brink of default, owing hundreds of billions of dollars. This isn't just a few bad loans, it's a systemic problem. Local governments, which relied heavily on land sales for revenue, are now starving for cash, and their solution? pump that dwindling capital into AI projects. Think about it. Who set this up? The Chinese Communist Party, through its central planning and state-owned enterprises. They've directed state-owned banks to lend massive amounts to provincial governments, and these governments in turn are funneling money into AI research parks, AI startups, AI everything, often with little regard for market viability or return on investment. This is debt-fueled investment on steroids, a tactic that has worked for China in the past for infrastructure, but it's reaching its limits. As Michael Pettis, a professor at Peking University, has pointed out,
Michael Pettis said, and I quote, China's growth model has always relied on debt-fueled investment rather than household consumption. This is now reaching its limits.
He's right. This isn't sustainable. So who profits in this scenario? Short term, some Chinese AI firms get a temporary lifeline propped up by government subsidies. US chip manufacturers like NVIDIA initially saw a surge in demand from China as companies stockpiled chips before export controls hit. But that's a one-time surge, not sustainable growth. Jensen Huang, NVIDIA's CEO, has to walk a tightrope, saying,
Jensen Huang said, and I quote, we are operating under the full compliance of US laws. We want to continue to serve the Chinese market.
The reality is, that market is shrinking for their most advanced products. The real profits are going to the state-backed entities that are essentially gambling with public funds on unproven AI ventures. Who loses? Ultimately, almost everyone. The Chinese people will bear the burden of misallocated capital and a slowing economy. Global investors in the broader AI sector will lose when this artificial bubble inevitably pops, sending shockwaves through tech valuations worldwide. Why now? Because the confluence of factors is unprecedented. A global economic slowdown, persistent and intensifying US tech restrictions, and China's internal clock running out on its debt-driven growth model. Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel, put it starkly.
Ken Griffin said, and I quote, the US-China relationship is the greatest geopolitical challenge of our lifetime. It will define the next 50 years.
And the economic consequences are dire. Christine Lagarde, president of the European Central Bank, warned.
Christine Lagarde said, and I quote, geopolitical fragmentation could reduce global GDP by up to 7% in the long run.
That's a huge number. This isn't just about China's AI. It's about a massive economy that is desperately trying to create a new growth engine out of thin air with huge implications for global stability and your money. So, what does this mean for your personal finances right here, right now? Let's break it down. On the equity side, if your portfolio is heavily concentrated in high-growth tech, especially anything related to artificial intelligence, cloud computing, or semiconductor equipment, you need to be paying very, very close attention. Companies like NVIDIA, AMD, even larger players like Microsoft and Google, which derive significant revenue from global AI initiatives, will face pressure from reduced demand from China and increased global competition. We're already seeing Chinese tech stocks like Alibaba, Tencent, and Baidu struggle, their valuations having been cut by half or more in recent years. This isn't just a dip, it's a re-rating of their growth prospects. The smart money is already looking for exit ramps, or at the very least, hedging their bets. Consider trimming positions in these high-flying, valuation-stretched names. Look at sectors that are less exposed to geopolitical tensions or are more defensive in nature, like utilities, healthcare, or consumer staples. For bonds, the impact is twofold. First, global uncertainty and potential capital flight from China could push U.S. Treasury yields higher. If more money seeks the safety of the dollar, it can temporarily suppress yields. But if the instability is severe enough, bond investors will demand a higher premium for holding government debt, which means rising yields, and rising yields mean falling bond prices. This directly impacts your mortgage rates, making new loans more expensive and refinancing a pipe dream. Second, Chinese corporate bonds are a minefield. The property sector is just the tip of the iceberg. Many state-backed AI ventures are not profitable, and their debt is implicitly guaranteed by a government that might not be able to backstop everything. Good luck getting paid back from those. Stick to high-quality, short-duration U.S. corporate bonds or even municipal bonds for stability. In real estate, higher mortgage rates are going to cool down housing markets, especially in tech-heavy regions that have seen massive appreciation. If borrowing costs go up from 5% to 6, 7, or even 8%, like we saw recently, that slices a huge chunk out of what people can afford. Commercial real estate, already struggling with post-pandemic occupancy rates, could see further pain as global economic uncertainty makes businesses hesitant to expand or invest. If you're thinking of buying, these higher rates mean your purchasing power is significantly reduced. Patience is key here. Your cash. This environment makes holding cash a lot less painful than it used to be. With rising interest rates, money market funds and high-yield savings accounts are actually paying decent returns, sometimes over 5%. This isn't about getting rich, but it's about preserving capital and having liquidity when opportunities arise or when you need to cover unexpected expenses. Inflationary pressures from ongoing supply chain disruptions, fueled by trade tensions and economic instability, will still erode your purchasing power. So while 5% sounds good, your real return might be closer to 0 or even negative after inflation. Consider inflation-protected securities like TIPS if you're worried about your cash losing value. On the crypto side, this is a tricky one. Some might see Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies as a safe haven from traditional market turmoil, a truly global, decentralized asset, and in some ways it can be. But crypto is also highly correlated with risk-on sentiment in the broader tech market. If the AI bubble pops and tech stocks plunge, crypto will likely follow, at least initially. So, don't assume it's immune. If you're in crypto, understand the volatility and the risk. This is not the time to be chasing speculative altcoins or NFTs. Focus on the foundational assets, if any, and understand that even they are not insulated from global economic shockwaves. So, what's the sharp prediction for the next 6 to 12 months? I don't know exactly how this plays out, nobody does. Maybe it resolves smoothly, that's possible. But the physical evidence, the bond market, and 50 years of history are all pointing the other way. The AI bubble, particularly the China-led component, will deflate significantly. This isn't necessarily a full-blown market crash, but it will be a painful reevaluation of valuations, especially in the tech sector, and it will cause increased volatility across global markets. Here's one clear action you can take right now. Review your portfolio for overexposure to high-growth tech, especially anything with significant direct or indirect China exposure. Diversify into defensive assets like utilities, healthcare, or consumer staples. And don't be afraid to hold a little more cash than usual. Cash is not trash in this environment, it's optionality, it's dry powder. Protect your capital first.